What's going on? I want to introduce you to Sharon. Unfortunately, Sharon's making a couple mistakes with her hair, and today I'm going to walk you through what these mistakes are, why they are stealing a little bit of that youth from her, and more importantly, how she can fix it. And just remember, this is all because she asked me to do this. Oh, and that's Crater Lake. Okay, now, if you're new to me and you're wondering why is this guy talking about hair out in the middle of the woods, well, first of all, my name is Justin Hickox. I've been doing hair since 1995, and I prefer to bring you out and show you views like this instead of sitting in a salon in front of a ring light. Just kind of how I do things. So yeah, welcome to the series. This is a series where I take subscribers from this channel who have sent in photographs specifically for this purpose, and I walk you through those mistakes that they're making, and like I said, more importantly, how they can correct them. So if that kind of stuff interests you, you might want to stick around. But with that said, let's dive into those mistakes. Now, the first mistake that we see is the fact that the length is just a tiny bit too long. This is a little bit subjective, right? Because she could look great with longer hair as well. So it's not to say the longer hair doesn't work well. It's to say that this particular length, if you look at the front length versus the back length is a little bit too long for the front. Now, the problem with this is that it's creating a lot of fullness at the very, very bottom. And therefore, we're creating a situation where it's bringing the eye down and just kind of laying the overall shape a bit flat. Now, mistake number two is that there's not enough volume up around the temples. Typically, this is actually created partly by not having enough volume in the top or around the temples. That problem is usually even amplified by having too much volume around the cheek area, which draws the illusion that there's less volume up in the temples. But in Sharon's specific situation, there's actually a bit of volume around her cheeks, which isn't a bad thing because it adds a bit of volume around her jawline, and that's actually a good thing. But if we added a little bit of volume up towards the temple and crown, it would do a really good job of accentuating cheek structure or cheekbones as well. Now, the third mistake that we're seeing is that there's a bit too much layering at the very bottom, and then there's kind of not enough layering in the very front. Now, my guess is going to be that Sharon's growing out of bob shape, because many times this happens if you've got a shorter bob and there's a little bit of beveling in the very nape area or the bottom. As her hair gets longer, if there's that kind of layering, it's going to have a tendency to look a bit thin. But with that said, as her hair gets longer, if we are trying to grow it out, we're going to need to adjust the cut as it grows. So at this point, I would still take off some of that length at the bottom to help fill that in a little bit and then let it grow again with a little bit stronger baseline. Okay, so now let's take a look and see what would actually happen if we made the modifications that I just talked about. Now, normally I would do this in a different location so that you could see a different view, but let's be honest, that one doesn't suck. And I'm going to stay right here and you can enjoy that more. You're welcome. Okay, so diving into what would happen. Now, the first modification would be, obviously, like I said, bring that length up. So here's what it looks like if we were to actually bring the length up. Here's what it looks like from the front, and here's what it would look like from the profile. Now, that small change seems actually not so small. I mean, because of the length range, even though we're not taking a lot of length off, it feels like it's a pretty dramatic change, and therefore a pretty dramatic amount of length off. And it kind of is, but this is, again, a situation where we need to back up a little bit to go forward. This is a great look on Sharon, even if she decided not to move from here, if she decided just to go back to this shape. But also, if we were trying to get her hair longer, because of that excess layering in the bottom, I would bring that length up anyway and not bevel it or layer it too much so that as it grows out a lot stronger and we've got more density at the bottom to actually work with for other shapes. This is what would happen if we created a little bit more volume in the top and around the temples. Adding that little bit of volume up through the temples does a good job of accentuating a little bit more cheek structure, meaning that it lifts your eye up and therefore lifts the cheeks up a bit more as well. And then the last mistake that we talked about, the little bit of excess layering in the bottom, we kind of addressed that with bringing the length up in the first place. So you kind of already saw what that looks like. Oh, and quick question for you. I'm just curious. I'd love to know who has been around this channel for a while, and with all the new subscribers, who's kind of new to the channel. So do me a favor, comment below. And yeah, I'd love to see where you're from. Oh, did that throw you off a little bit? Yeah, it's kind of a curveball, huh? Background? Speaking of curveballs, not quite the same scene you saw just a second ago. That, my friends, is the Painted Hills. Yeah, it doesn't suck at all, right? Okay, speaking of curveballs, let's talk about some curveballs. So there are a few things that I think Sharon would look amazing in. And as I was thinking about it, I was looking at some photos that she sent. And I want to show you this one right here. Now, one of the things I noticed about this is she could absolutely go short. Without question, she could do short. In fact, the way she looks with her hair pulled back like this, I think she's got the perfect face shape and hair texture to go short. So any of these shapes would look fantastic on her. It's really going to be up to her to decide how crazy or funky she wants to be with it. But I really think that she could go with any of these, and they're going to look good. Okay, wait. 1 second. I have to apologize. I made a massive mistake. As I'm editing this video, I realized that this mistake happened, and you need to be aware of it because it's very, very important. The number one question that I get asked in emails from new clients or texts or phone calls or comments, whatever, is always, what would you do? Simply look at me and tell me, what would you do? Now, don't get me wrong. I really appreciate the trust invested in this question. But with that said, let me tell you what you deserve. What you deserve is for me to guide you in a way that is more balanced within not just your face shape and your hair texture, but also what your day-to-day routine looks like, what you feel comfortable in, what length range you feel comfortable in, anything that you've had in the past that you liked or you didn't like, right? Many different things about you so that you and I can collaboratively work together to determine the best option for you. But the second I just throw out my opinion without any of that information, I am turning this situation 100% into me and not focused on you. And you deserve it to be focused on you. This is the mistake that I made. When I was going through the curveballs for Sharon, I looked at this photo, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh. She, with her bone structure, her facial features, her hair texture, she could wear short, funky hair so well. And so I immediately started looking for funky haircuts. And that's when I realized, after I was editing the video, that all of these funky haircuts were all about me. They had nothing to do with maybe what Sharon would feel comfortable in. The reason I'm stopping this video to explain this is because I think it's very important. When you go to a stylist, and I know that you want to say, I trust you. What would you do if you could do anything? I want you to make it more about you because you deserve this to be more about you. That is why I stopped when I was editing this video and I looked back and I said, you know what? All of this stuff is about me. It's about what I think would look great on her. Natural gray hair has a tendency to be a bit more on the classic polished side. It just has that kind of look to it. When you marry that with a really funky, edgy cut on the right person, it is an absolute striking look. And so that is exactly where my mind went. But it wasn't focused on what Sharon might like and what might be comfortable for her. So when I started looking at her photo a little bit more in depth and trying to gather as much possible information that I could, I noticed that it seems to be, and I could be wrong, but it seems to be that her outfit has a little bit more of a classic look. And therefore, she might lend herself a little bit more to classic styles versus super edgy, funky styles. So with all of that said, that is where these stem from. All of these styles would look fantastic with her bone structure. They leave her a little bit of length for some versatility, and they give her a little bit more opportunity to create a classic and polished look, but still have a little bit of fun with it. So I think they would all be fantastic. But now that I've got all of that out of the way, and I hope you learned something there, let's dive back into some better views than this. Now, I also know that it looks as though maybe she's growing her hair out, so it makes me wonder if maybe she wants to go even a bit longer with it. So if she were to go longer, here are definitely a few options that would look great on her as well. She really could go a few different ways. Now, the one thing that I really think would look great, and I talk about this quite a bit, but in this particular situation, I really think that it adds something. When we bring that length up, we notice that it starts to look a lot lighter. You start losing some of that dimension. It made me realize how much that dimension plays a part in creating more definition around her face shape. So there's definitely part of me that thinks low lights would look incredible on her. Now, this is actually what that would look like if we gave that some depth. Do you see what it does for her face? It's an entirely different ballgame, right? Let me back this up real quickly, just so you know. Low lights don't mean the high maintenance. Low lights in this particular situation, you can put these in. I do them on clients all the time, and they end up just kind of fading out over 6 months. They're redone maybe once every 6 months or a year. So it isn't a maintenance thing. I think it has a big impact. Like always, you tell me, what do you think? Do me the favor, throw it in the comments. Let me know. What do you think? Should she go short? Should she go long? Do you think low lights would be good? All right. Well, I think wife and I are going to hang out here and enjoy that horrible view while you head down to the comment section and tell me which one you think she should do. All right. You guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next week. But right now, go ahead and watch this. I'll see you in that video. All right. You take care now. We'll see you. Bye.